Hello and welcome to the CSBP Market Update. I'm Aiden Boyham, and joining us on today's episode, as usual, we have our Sales, Strategy and Reliability Manager, Ben Sudlow. Ben, how are we?
Great, thanks Aiden, good morning.
Just for clarity, we are recording on the morning of Tuesday the 2nd of June, and obviously markets can and will remain volatile for the foreseeable, so just getting that out there nice and early. Ben, there's been a fair bit happening in the international nitrogen markets. Can you unpack what's been going on in global urea markets for us?
Since we last spoke, urea prices had started declining when we last spoke, and they've continued to decline relatively steadily over the last couple of weeks. But it's the last 2 weeks where probably a couple of significant things have changed the market dynamic. The first of those, last week, as expected, India has come and put another tender out. They're looking for another 1.7 million tonnes. That tender closes on the 8th of June. So that's the number one market expectation. And then one which we've spoken about for a number of months is now China have also come and they're put an export quota out for urea around the same time. So that's the number two factor. And this third one, which has been this sort of pricing dislocation between different origins, you've now got China on their quota. They've put a price out at $670 a tonne, of which they're saying we will not sell below. You've got Middle East prices, which is a limited market given there's not a lot of tonnes still coming out through the Strait. Their prices are now probably the bottom end, around that, say, $620 to $630 a tonne. And in the middle where product is available, being Southeast Asia, prices are more $660, $670. So there's a bit of dislocation as people position themselves ahead of the tender offers, which are expected out on the 8th of June.
So, with all these different dynamics in play, what do WA growers need to be considering? What should they know as they start thinking about their top-ups over the coming weeks?
Well, maybe firstly, Aidan, I think it's worth just pointing out between now and next week when the 8th come, does the market, the urea market, reset at a point? I mean, Indian tender typically that sees prices then reset higher or maybe reset lower, and this current market dynamic where China's coming with volume, India's looking for volume. Those volumes typically match off one another, but China's put a floor in, which happens to be higher than where some of the prices are trading at the moment. How that plays out over the next 7 days will be most interesting.
Okay, and in terms of supply, how are we looking there?
Look, supply's pretty good. We're fairly comfortable about the amount of ships we have coming of urea now. It's always challenging this time of year with getting ships around the coast and getting them into ports with rain and having to take ships off the berth because of weather events and so on. But the supply of urea looks pretty good over the next 6 weeks.
And in terms of Gran and S, decent supply there as well?
Yes, Gran and S is now all in, and again that's available now and going up pretty steadily as we speak.
Well, that's granular nitrogen, Ben. Let's focus on liquid now, Flexi-N, UAN. What's the latest globally there, and how are we looking in terms of supply through June and July?
We're manufacturing as we need. We bought some to arrive in July as we hit peak demand. And again, prices have corrected slightly down on Flexi-N as well. So you've seen urea come down, you've seen Flexi-N now, and compared with what people were looking at even a month ago, it's much more affordable compared with what the peaks were, albeit at higher prices than what we saw pre-war.
Okay, that's nitrogen covered pretty well there, Ben. In terms of phosphates and potash, what's the latest in global markets there? Is there anything we need to be aware of at this point?
The phosphate prices have generally been escalating quite rapidly. Sulphur prices still pushing up. Ammonia prices of feedstock still pushing up. A granulation plant is now finished manufacturing for the year, and we're really thinking about what stocks we can bring into 27 and what sort of replacement cost looks going to 2027. So ammonium phosphates are done. And potash we're still getting that flowing through. There's plenty of supply, and those prices have moved up a little bit, but generally relatively low.
Okay. Well, that's NP and K covered pretty broadly there, Ben. Is there anything that we've missed today?
No, other than it's probably worth picking out the rainfall that we had on the weekend is good, and it's nice to think that maybe the crops will get up, they'll get a decent bit of rain, and people go into the confidence into June with a bit of rainfall in the soil and hopefully a bit more rain through June, that things keep going.
All right, well, on that note, Ben, we'll leave it there. Thank you once again for joining us on the Market Update.
Thanks, Aiden. Cheers.
And thank you for joining us. It's been great to have you with us, and we hope you can join us again on the next episode of the CSBP Market Update. Bye for now.
This podcast is provided as general information only. The content of this podcast is not a recommendation and has been prepared without taking your objectives or circumstances into account. Before acting on the content of this, you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances and seek independent advice.